Hey everybody, here is your help video for Navigator session 13. Hopefully this helps you to get through some of these problems if you're working independently. So your opening problem, we have this big place value chart that shows all of these different patterns of numbers. If you're dealing with ones, up to 10, 100, 1,000, or going backwards into the decimals, and then you kind of see how each number is repeating itself within each of these columns. And it's getting bigger or smaller depending on which way you go up or down the table. And so I gave you just some notes here to think about when you're working with this place value table. If you move down one space, like if I jumped from 4 to 40, to get from 4 to 40 would be to multiply by 10. So if I'm within a column and I go down one space, that's multiplying by 10. If I went down two spaces instead, then that would be multiplying not by 10, but by 100, right? 4 turns into 400 by multiplying by 100. So going down 1 would be times 10. Going down 2 boxes would be times 100. Going down 3 boxes would be 10, 100, 1,000. Okay, and so on. If you were to go up the table, you would, instead of multiplying, you would just be dividing. So if you go backwards, right, you're going to be making these smaller. These would be divisions. And so one space would be to divide by 10, two spaces would be to divide by 100, three spaces would be to divide by 1,000, and so on. Okay, so you're going to use those patterns to help you answer these questions. So for example, what do you do to the number 5 to get 50? So here's 5 within my table. I'm going from 5 to 50. I went down one space. And so one space down, one jump down, that means times 10. And so here in my box that I could write that I first would have to multiply it by 10, right? 5 times 10 would get me to 50. And you can go ahead and fill in yours as we're working. What could you do to the number 6 to get 60? So same thing, from 6 to 60, I'm jumping down one box. If I move down my table, that's multiplying. So I'm going to multiply one space, so multiply times 10. If I'm going to 4, from 4 to 0.4, so I'm going to look at my 4s, from 4 to 0.4. So instead of moving down, I'm moving up, or moving backwards. I'm making smaller. So instead of multiplying, this becomes a division. And so you could say that in here, that you need to divide. Oops, I lost my little box. There should be a box there, so I'll make sure that that's on there. But in here, I would have that I'm going to divide by 10, right? I'm moving up, so that's going to make it a division, or I'm moving backwards within my numbers, and so that's division, and it's one spot, so that's going to be a 10. So you can keep answering these problems by thinking about those patterns that you're seeing within that place value chart. And then you're going to come down here to the work time problems. And these work time problems are actually associated to the work that we did last time on Navigator session 12 when you were going through and organizing all of these objects from least to greatest and then matching them to a reasonable estimate for the decimal number that would go with it. And so we're actually going to take it one step further. So if I open this up, you now have all these cards that would have been organized and sorted in this way, right? We had the fly that was 0.001, the thumb would have been next, which was 0.02, and so on. The objects go this way, kind of following the arrow that you see in the background. The next step is to take these blue cards, these cards that have this blue outline, and to figure out how many times bigger each number is getting. So what I have to multiply this 0.001 by in order to get it to turn into 0.02. And so you can absolutely use a calculator. I have already placed all of these ones that are out here in the middle for you. So 0.001 has to be multiplied by 20 to land at 0.02. 0.02 has to multiply by 5 to make it turn into 0.0 or 0.1. I want to know, what does 0.1 have to multiply by to get it to turn into 0.2? And so you can use a calculator to work that out, or you can use the idea of the patterns that you saw within your place value chart, or try and treat these like whole numbers to help, you're going to click the cards on the bottom and drag them in where you believe they go. These should be going kind of in between the sets of cards so that I can see that this is taking one card to the next. It's okay if you're covering on top of some of the other ones. You can always make them smaller if you want to also. I'll still be able to read and zoom in, okay? So you can make it work for yourself. So you only need to end up doing the ones that are down here at the bottom, not all the ones that are already placed. So you're only going to go through and do the work on these bottom 6 cards, placing them where they go, matching what do I multiply by to get from one match set to the next one as I'm going through my list. Okay. And that should be it for that part. Make sure that you save and close, and it'll just save your progress right on there. Okay. You will see, I'm going to have to change the formatting on this a tiny bit. You will see my answers that pop up as well. So make sure that after you've gone through that process, you can double check yourself to kind of see how you did. And then you have a reflection. So what have you learned about multiplying or dividing using powers of 10? So when I multiply by 10, what happens? When I divide by 10, what happens? Or if I'm multiplying by 100, what happens? Or if I divide by 100, what happens? Okay. And then how is the place value chart that we used at the very beginning useful for working with powers of 10? How was that helpful to be able to solve any of these problems? Okay. Okay, so that's it for today. I hope that you were able to get through this quickly and easily so that you have some time for your other classes as well. Please reach out with any questions that you have or if you're stuck so that I can get you some help. I will talk to you soon. Bye.